Hello everyone, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink, and I'm excited to share with you guys the first of what will be many cards videos over this month. This is the big STAMPtember celebration with Simon Says Stamp, which means they release a ton this month. There's a huge release already that went up just a few hours ago. There will be releases throughout the month, all kinds of things going on. I don't even know what all is going on, but anyway. I'm using just one of the many stamp sets that have been released. And this is a Simon Says Stamp. It's one of their exclusive sets. This is Hydrangea Blooms and so pretty. There's also a coordinating die set for this, which I just ordered like an hour ago. I had the stamp set already that they sent to me and it was the first one I used. I couldn't resist inking it up. And I stamped it onto some Tim Holtz Distress watercolor paper with VersaFine Onyx Black ink. And then I just used the stamp packaging as my palette and squished some distress inks onto it. And I'm picking them up with my little detail water brush and just watercoloring these in really, really simple. And I decided to go with pinks for this. I had an inspiration photo that I can't post because I don't have like the rights to it or whatever, but it was just a local greenhouse that posted a picture of these hydrangeas and they were just this gorgeous shade of pink, and you could tell it was taken closer to sunset and like there was yellow in the background. It was just so pretty, so it kind of stuck in my head, and that's what kind of inspired the colors and inspired this card. So I watercolored in all these hydrangeas with the different colors of distress ink, and I'd used picked raspberry, spun sugar, and scattered straw. And like I said, that background of the photo had this gorgeous kind of sunset, this soft yellow glow, so I kind of emulated that by squishing some mustard seed is what I used. Squished that onto my makeshift palette, and then I was using a silver size 6 brush and just quickly watercolor that in the background. And the nice thing about using similar colors like this is I didn't have to worry about being really perfect around the flowers and muddying up any colors because I was using yellow, which I'd already used on the flowers. And after I'd done that, I ended up going back over the hydrangeas and did a second layer of color just to really intensify the color because I wanted them to be like really pink. I can't resist when I use pink. Picked raspberry, it's just such a pretty color. So while I was at that, I decided after everything was dry to splatter the remaining yellow and what was left on my palette there just across this. And I ended up dabbing it up with some paper towel because I didn't want it to just sit there. Plus, it just takes too long to dry. You guys know I'm impatient and sometimes lazy. So did that, dried it with my heat tool, and then spritzed it with my distress sprayer and then let that sit for about 30 seconds roughly because distress inks react so wonderfully with water. So I let that sit and then I picked it up with my paper towels. Then I got all these fun little droplets. And then I cleaned off my palette, aka the packaging, with just a baby wipe. So got it clean so that I'll be able to put the stamps back in the packaging. And let everything completely dry. And then I'm using the Simon Says Basic Rectangles dies. I use the second largest die to die cut the watercolor panel. And then I use the largest die in the set to die cut some pretty pink gingham pattern paper. This is from MFT. So I die cut the paper because I just thought the color went really well with that picked raspberry color. And then I pulled out my Simon Says, this is the Painted Hugs die that I absolutely love. I love all the painted phrases. And I die cut that 3 times from some white cardstock, and I just left the last one in there. With this one, it's not as big of a deal, but I've shown this before. I like to leave them inside the negative space there, and it just kind of holds the die in place when I'm layering them like this. So I adhered them all together with some multi-medium matte adhesive from Ranger, my absolute favorite for adhering all kinds of little things, sentiments, sequins, all that kind of stuff. So I adhered all 3 together. And then tried to figure out where I was going to place this on my card. And I wanted to use, there's a stamp in this set that says Sending Love. So I wanted to use that as well. So kind of figured out where I was going to place everything and then decided to go with my, old standby, which is vellum. So I treated the vellum with my anti-static powder first. And then I inked up just the first part of the sentiment with Simon Says clear embossing ink. And figured out how I was going to position this on the vellum as well because I wanted it to go right above the sentiment. So I stamped just the sending word with the clear embossing ink, and then I'm going to coat that with some detail white embossing powder. So sprinkle that over the sentiment and then heat that with my heat tool. And when heating on vellum, it literally takes seconds to melt it. Like you see it react right away. As soon as it's melted, you remove the heat tool because vellum can warp really quickly, really easily. So melted that and then trimmed it down with my paper cutter and then figured out where I was going to place this on my watercolor panel. And that's where I love using vellum because you can see, all the work I put into it earlier. I love being able to see the image underneath. So I wrap that around, and then on the back side of it, I'm just taping this down with some Scotch tape. So get that taped into place, and then to adhere the die cut sentiment, I'm going to use my multi-medium matte adhesive again. So just squeeze that out all along, just the thicker areas. I don't worry about having to coat the entire thing. Once this sets, it is good to go. So I just coat the thicker areas of the sentiment with that, and then pressed it into place. And then I just set an acrylic block on top of that so that it could press it down to make sure the bottom part of the G there especially adheres really well to the cardstock, and then that'll also hold the vellum in place so it doesn't, you know, pop up a little bit. And then I put foam tape on the back of this watercolor panel and adhered it to my patterned paper. And then for my card base, it is a heavyweight piece of white cardstock. This is Nina Solar White 110 pound, one of my absolute favorites for card bases, that I cut to 4 1/4 by 11 inches, and I scored it at 5 1/2 with my Teflon bone folder. And then I'm going to adhere my card front flat to the card with my ATG adhesive. So get that all lined up and adhered into place. And then of course I had to add some sequins. So I grabbed my Pretty Pink Posh Sparkling Clear Mix, as well as the Pretty Pink Posh, the new 3mm Sparkling Clear, which are super tiny, and I'm obsessed with them already. They're kind of a pain to use because they're so small and they just like to fling off everywhere, but I put up with it for using them. They're so cute, and I love my Pretty Pink Posh Sparkling Clear sequins. You know, I have the mix, I have the 4mm, now I have the 3mm. I'm obsessed with them. I want to put them on everything. So I adhere all that into place with my multi-medium matte adhesive, just kind of sprinkle them on my card front. And then for the inside of the card, I'm stamping the second sentiment that comes with the stamp set. So I stamped that with the VersaFine Onyx Black ink. And then to finish it off, I kept those little flowers that are also in the set, and I'm just going to ink those up with the same distress ink, so the spun sugar and the scattered straw, and just kind of stamp them along the right hand side of the inside of the card to kind of look like the blooms are just falling. I just thought it was a pretty little touch. And that finished off my card. So as always, I will have links below the video to my blog post with the pictures, as well as links to all the supplies used. At the end here, I'll also have links to 2 other videos I did with distress inks. One with distress ink watercolor, and then the other one is actually using another new set from the Simon Says STAMPtember release, where I do some distress ink blending. So that's the second one you see. So you can click on those if you missed them or want to check them out. And thank you all so much for watching, subscribing, thumbs upping my videos, and I will see you all very soon in the next one. Bye.